It's an absolute pleasure to meet both of you. Can I ask, what is the superpower with Pixar directors to make grown men cry in theaters?
I don't know. I mean, we just try to tell stories that are really honest and maybe tap into some just base human feelings that we all share, no matter where we are on the planet.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We try to make ourselves feel something, and hopefully, if we've done that, then maybe other people watching the film will feel something as well.
Great film for children, actually for a whole family, really. But what do you hope children walk away with after they see this film?
I hope that they walk away curious about the stories of their family.
Sure.
And when I was growing up, my parents were my parents, and I never really thought about, where did you go to school? How did you meet? All of these questions. But as you get older, it becomes really interesting to know these stories because there's so much that you can learn. So I hope the youngest person in the family calls up the oldest person in the family and says, what were you like as a kid?
Yeah.
What were your dreams? What were your challenges? Because I think to know that stuff is really important nowadays.
Music is also a huge part of this movie, so we also hope that kids will want to go home and pick up a musical instrument, honestly, because music only makes people's lives better.
Absolutely.
And if people can see this movie and be inspired to take up a musical instrument, that we would feel very happy.
Speaking of like families, like I said, Pixar directors, I had an earlier interview that said that you actually kind of chimed in on Finding Dory. Gave them some tips. Did any other Pixar directors come in and kind of give you some tips with this project?
Oh, we always do. We have it's called the Brain Trust at Pixar, where all of the different directors of the different projects come together periodically, and we'll screen our films for each other so they can see the progress. And we get very honest criticism, but it's always very, very helpful. So, yeah, we try to be there for our friends and help them on their projects because we know there's going to come a day where we'll need their help making our film better.
Absolutely. One of the things I always ask Pixar directors are Easter eggs. Are there any favorite ones that you have that we should be looking out for, or?
There's some good ones. There's there's a Toy Story reference in here that you could keep an eye out for. We have the Pizza Planet truck hidden in the film, as always.
I tell people to keep an eye on the Alebrijes. There's a few little cameos in there.
We recognize some characters from other Pixar films.
Speaking of Pixar, every time they knock it out of the park. And what do you think that makes Pixar different than other animated studios?
Well, there's never any guarantee, of course. We've been at this for 25 years now making features, and every new feature is just as hard as the first one.
Yeah.
I think we have an environment at Pixar that is fostered from the top down by John Lasseter and Ed Catmull and Jim Morris to be supportive of the artists. And they understand that making movies and telling stories can be a really messy process.
Sure.
We mess up along the way quite a bit. We crash and burn, but we pick ourselves up and we move on and try to learn from the mistakes that we've made and steer towards the potential that we see for the projects that we're working on. And I think it's that support and that understanding that we need the creative room. We need the time to let these films take shape. That's allowed us to have as much success as we've had over the years.
One of the things I love about the Pixar films are like them progressing the technology of things that they couldn't do before, like things you couldn't do 5 years ago. Is there something in this film, technology-wise, that you could have done 5 years ago?
I think for this film, any given task, we've got really brilliant minds who have always been able to figure it out. But it's been the scope. This is a film where there's multiple worlds of night and day, thousands of characters, living skeletons, fantastical creatures.
Sure.
They all need to be clothed and lit and modeled. And to be able to pull that off with the resources we have just takes some really strategic thinking and prioritization. So
we had a big appetite.
And then my last question is, because I think, especially with this movie, because it's such musical based, and I ask everybody because I think it tells a lot about a person, what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, geez. It's usually something from ABBA, I think, for me. I don't know which. Dancing Queen? I don't know. What am I saying about myself?
I've been a fan of the Proclaimers' 500 Miles.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for a great film.
Thanks.